Where are you watching from today? Because this one's going to sting. I never thought the day would come when the child I raised, fed, clothed, loved through every damn storm, would shove me out like I was nothing. But she did. And not with silence, not with tears. With words that sliced cleaner than any knife. Her porch light hit my face like a spotlight in a police raid. Rain was soaking right through my sweater, mascara bleeding into every tired line on my face. But it wasn't the storm that broke me. It was her. Her voice. Her face. And that sentence I'll never forget. You'll never touch a cent of my money, you bitter old parasite. Then, boom. My suitcase hit the pavement. It burst open like something infected. Clothes I had folded just hours before spilled onto the driveway. Underwear. Socks. An old blouse, the one I wore when I watched her boys. My toothbrush rolled into the gutter like it had finally figured out it didn't belong either. And Melissa? She didn't blink. Brandon, that smug little boyfriend of hers, young enough to be her kid's older brother, just stood behind her, arms crossed, watching me unravel. Proud of himself. Behind them, her brand new house, still wearing its real estate ribbons, gleamed like a trophy. She hadn't even pulled down the sold sign yet. I didn't say a word. Didn't beg. Didn't shout. I just stood there. In the rain. Hair pasted to my scalp. Mascara streaked like war paint. Heart heavy, throat burning. And thank God, her boys weren't home. At least they didn't have to see their grandma dumped like an old rag no one wants anymore. Melissa's voice came at me again, sharper, crueler. You're a leech. I worked for this. You don't get to suck the life out of me just because you're old. My jaw clenched. But still, I didn't speak. Not yet. Not when I knew the truth. 10 days ago, she hit the lottery. $10 million. One ticket. One check. That's all it took for her to treat me like I was dead weight. Funny how that works. Back when we were dreaming, she'd say, if we ever win big, we'll travel. I'll get a duplex, you can live next door, help with the boys, we'll finally breathe. She used to tell her friends I was her rock. Yeah. That's what she called me. But the moment the money hit her account, she didn't even toss me a spare blanket for the night. I bent down. One sock at a time. Shaking from cold, not weakness. And Melissa? She just stood there, watching. With those same eyes I used to kiss goodnight. Only now they were hollow. Emotionless. Dead. You need to leave. Now. Or I'm calling the cops. You don't belong here anymore. Did you hear that? No right. To stand on the porch I helped her keep. To look at the face I gave my whole life to protect. It hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. I wanted to scream. I paid your rent for 4 years. I raised your babies while you figured out which career felt the least boring. I gave up my retirement, my peace, my body, for you. Over and over and over again. But I didn't. Because I wasn't going to let her see me break. Not Melissa. Not tonight. So I picked up my suitcase. The rain had turned the dirt under my shoes into thick, dragging sludge. It didn't matter. I backed up slowly. She thought I'd crawl. She really thought I'd come back, desperate, begging, waiting for crumbs like a stray she used to feed. But she miscalculated. Just one thing. One small thing that was going to cost her everything. She never turned the ticket over. She never checked whose name was signed on the back. A few weeks before that night. We were still pretending to be a team. Or maybe I was the only one pretending. I was cooking. Cleaning. Folding her boys' laundry. Paying half the bills out of my retirement fund without a word. Melissa. She was between jobs again. That's how she said it. Like it was just a quick stop on a long road. I never questioned her. Didn't push. Didn't prod. I did what I always did. Held the whole thing together while she drifted in and out of ambition. The house was falling apart. Cracked tile, chipped banisters, loud cartoons blaring through cheap speakers. But it had noise. Life. Some kind of weird, messy love. It was still home. And we had this little tradition. When life got too heavy, when everything felt like too much, we'd grab lottery tickets from the corner station. Gas. Milk. A scratch-off. That was the routine. Our shared ritual. Can you imagine, she'd say, waving her ticket in the air like it was a winning passport. $10 million. No more late rent. No more dollar store dinners. I'd chuckle. Maybe I'll finally get that porch swing I keep bringing up. We never believed we'd win. That wasn't the point. It was $2 of permission to hope. And that was enough. Sometimes. Some weeks, we'd forget. Other times, we'd come home and spread our tickets across the table like they meant something. Pick our favorite numbers. She always went with birthdays. I picked odd ones, just to confuse fate. If I win, she used to grin. We split it. Always. I got you, Mom. She said that every time. I got you. And like a fool. I believed her. Even when she skipped her half of the water bill. Even when she rolled her eyes while I asked her to clean before the boys got home. Even when she left her kids with me to go to interviews that always ended with smeared lipstick and tequila breath. She had moods. But I made space for them. She's just tired. She's doing her best. She didn't mean it. That's what we do as mothers, right? We swallow the sharp edges. We carry their weight and pretend we don't feel it. But that week, something was off. Melissa was fidgety. Closed off. Jumping every time her phone buzzed. Snapping at the kids. Whispering behind closed doors. I thought maybe her anxiety was back. I gave her space. Then came Thursday. We were on the couch watching the local news, some feel-good piece about a winning lottery ticket sold right down the street. Same gas station as always. Somebody in the neighborhood's filthy rich, the anchor said, smiling into the camera. Melissa shifted in her seat. Didn't smile. You ever get one from there this week? She asked, super casual. Yeah, I replied. Grabbed one Monday. Picked it up with the eggs and coffee. She shrugged. Just wondering. Eyes still locked on her phone screen. The next morning, the ticket was gone. Not in the drawer. Not on the counter. Not behind the smiley face magnet on the fridge. Gone. I tore through that kitchen like a storm, every cabinet, every bag, even the trash. My heart kept dropping deeper each time I didn't find it. And I knew. I didn't want to know. But I did. I didn't ask her. Couldn't. Because asking would make it real. And she promised. If we ever won, we'd split it. That's the thing about promises made in low places. They don't always survive the rise. That ticket wasn't just hope. It wasn't just a game. It was mine. I remember buying it like it happened 5 minutes ago. Clearer than what I ate for lunch today. I was standing behind some angry guy screaming into his phone, ranting about betrayal, broken deals, whatever. I just wanted milk and maybe a pack of gum. Nothing else. Then the cashier smiled and said, "You want a ticket today?" I almost said no. Almost. But something pushed me. Out of habit. Out of blind hope. Yeah. Quick pick, I muttered. $2. Slipped the receipt into my wallet. Pinned the ticket to the fridge with a yellow magnet shaped like a smiley face, like an idiot. Didn't even tuck it away. Melissa was pacing the kitchen when I got back, ranting about some recruiter ghosting her. Hands flying. Mind racing. I didn't interrupt. I just nodded. Made her some tea. I bought a ticket, I said, handing her a cup and trying to lighten the mood. Maybe this one's finally the lucky one. She didn't laugh. Didn't blink. Just said, "Yeah, that'd be nice." And kept scrolling. I left the ticket where it was, on the fridge. And moved on. She didn't. That night, she made dinner. Unusual. She poured wine like we were celebrating, but never said what. Even kissed me goodnight. Next morning, the ticket was gone. The magnet was still there. Just the magnet. Like it was laughing at me. She never brought it up. I didn't ask. Because deep down, I still wanted to believe she was good. That belief didn't last long. Not after the new heels. Not after the hushed phone calls. Not after the champagne bottle she brought home and didn't offer me a glass from. Not after she shut the door in my face and said she needed space. I kept telling myself, she'll come around. She's just stressed. This is temporary. So I kept my mouth shut. Held my breath. Waited. Until I couldn't anymore. Because just a few days later, she walked into my living room, smiling like she'd just won the lottery. And turns out, she thought she had. Melissa stood in the doorway, eyes shining like a kid on Christmas morning. "You're not going to believe this," she said, clutching a slip of paper with shaking hands. She held it up like it was scripture. $10 million, she breathed. I actually freaking won. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't even blink. I just stared at her. Because right then, in that moment, I knew, she was lying. Right to my face. Melissa doesn't buy tickets. She hates standing in line. Never carries cash. Doesn't even like talking to the clerk at the corner store. But now suddenly, she's the lucky one with all the right numbers. I smiled, tight and flat. Wow, that's amazing. She pulled me into a hug like it meant something. "We're getting out of here," she whispered. "We're finally gonna live the life we deserve." We. She really said we. As if that hadn't expired the second her bank balance grew 6 zeros. But I could feel it. That this we had a countdown. It was ticking fast. Because even in that hug, she wouldn't look me in the eye. And my gut, the part of me that still knew how to protect myself, was screaming. She took my ticket. And she didn't even understand what she'd stolen. 3 days later, she was gone. No goodbye. No explanation. Just, gone. Her toothbrush? Missing. Closet? Half empty. Car? Vanished. At first, I thought she was out for groceries. But then Calvin, the neighbor from across the fence, flagged me down while I was trimming dead stems from my rose bush. "Hey, June," he said, dragging on a cigarette. "You moving out or something?" I blinked. "No, why?" U-Haul out front this morning. About 5 o'clock. She was out there giving orders in heels and a silk robe. "Thought you two were heading somewhere fancy." My stomach dropped. The air in my lungs turned sharp. I'd been awake since 4. Couldn't sleep. Bad hip. Too many thoughts. But somehow, she managed to sneak an entire move out of the house while I was tugging weeds in the back garden. She didn't just leave. She escaped. And that word stuck. Like I was something to flee from. Like my presence was a weight she'd finally gotten permission to unload. I went inside. Everything felt hollow. The coffee pot was still warm. The house still smelled like cinnamon and sleep. And yet, it was like she'd never lived there. I walked into the kitchen. Her mug, the one I gave her when she graduated, was gone. It had that quote on it. Strong women raise strong daughters. It used to sit beside mine every morning. Matching. Connected. Now it was just me. Me and a magnet. That yellow smiley face magnet holding up nothing but cold metal and memory. I placed my hand on the fridge. Flat. Still. Like I could somehow absorb the moment back. But I couldn't. Because it wasn't just suspicion anymore. She took it. She took the damn ticket. And now she was living in a mansion paid for with the money I didn't even get to touch. I called her. Once. Straight to voicemail. Didn't leave a message. Didn't ask her to explain. What was the point? I'd spent years waiting for Melissa to choose me over her own chaos. And every time, she chose convenience. Comfort. Control. So I sat at the table. The same table where she used to toss her purse. Where she'd complain about work. Where she'd eat cereal at midnight and rant about how life was unfair. Unfair. That word echoed like a slap. I thought about the time I held her hand through labor. The time I paid off her rent, twice, when her job wasn't a good fit. How I canceled a trip to see my dying best friend just so I could babysit her kids while she found herself in Arizona. And now? Now she was sipping champagne in someone else's zip code, living off the ticket that was never hers. A ticket she plucked from my fridge like it was a coupon. She called it a miracle. A blessing. But she forgot the fine print. She forgot to turn it over. She never once looked at the name signed on the back. My name. And that small act of arrogance? That lazy little oversight? That's the thing that would undo it all. Because I wasn't the woman who'd cry in the dark and pretend everything was fine anymore. I wasn't the woman who'd keep baking pies and cleaning up messes like she hadn't been stabbed in the back. No. I was the one who signed that ticket. And I was done being quiet. She may have vanished from my life. But she wasn't invisible. Not to me. Melissa couldn't help herself. She wore her lies like a trophy. Flaunted her betrayal with filters and hashtags. Facebook. Instagram. Even the local news. Everywhere I looked, there she was. Front and center. From broke single mom to millionaire queen, she typed under a picture of herself posing on the steps of some grand, sterile white mansion. Cocktail in hand. Legs crossed like she owned the whole block. Her smile? Most people saw joy. But I knew that look. It wasn't happiness. It was performance. It was a look at me now for a crowd that never cared before. And those people surrounding her? Cousins she hadn't spoken to in half a decade. Friends who used to talk about her behind her back, now cheering her on like they'd always believed in her. Suddenly, they were family. And me? I disappeared. Erased. No, thank you, Mom. No, we made it. Not even a throwback photo of the tiny house we used to share. The one where I raised her. The one where I held her up when she fell apart. The one I scrubbed and fixed and kept standing while she slept in and sulked. I was airbrushed out of her story like a smudge on a perfect photo. She cut me out so cleanly it was like I'd never been there. But I didn't comment. Didn't post. Didn't clap back. I watched. Because in her rush to become someone new, she forgot one thing. I'm still her mother. And mothers see everything. I watched her job status flip from freelancer to private investor. I watched her tag some luxury realtor with a caption, New Beginnings. I watched champagne glasses clink in slow motion as she posted rooftop selfies, while her boys, my grandsons, ran wild in the blurry background. No seatbelts. No shoes. No one watching. That image chilled me. Made my stomach knot up. She didn't trade struggle for stability. She traded structure for spectacle. And me? She swapped me out for a nanny, Some girl who spelled the boys' names wrong in the captions. But what gutted me most wasn't what she shared. It was what she stopped sharing. Her sons. At first, just fewer photos. Then none at all. Gone. She wasn't present. Not with them. Not with herself. And deep down, I knew why. Melissa didn't win anything. She stole it. And no matter how many followers she bought or hashtags she used, she was building her life on sand. I didn't go after her. Not yet. I needed more than pain. I needed proof. So I opened the drawer I hadn't touched in years. The one that held everything: grocery lists, paid bill stubs, a takeout menu from 2009. And there it was. A crumpled photo. Blurry. Off angle. But the details were there. The date. The time. The gas station name. The winning numbers. Mine. I printed it. Folded it carefully. Tucked it into the pocket of my coat like armor. Because Melissa might have walked out on me. But I wasn't about to let her walk away with the truth. Not without a fight. So I didn't knock on her door. Didn't slide into her DMs. I went somewhere better. The gas station. My gas station. Where I bought milk. Where I filled out birthday cards in the parking lot. Where I paid light bills and bought scratchers with exact change. And there behind the counter, just like always, was Greg. He looked up as I walked in. "Miss June," he said with a wide smile. "Long time no see." I smiled back, though it didn't reach my eyes. "Greg. I need your help." "Anything," he said, already leaning in. I kept my voice low. "Remember the lottery ticket I bought last Monday? The one I joked about changing my life?" He grinned. "Of course. You said if you won, you'd buy a beach house and leave your daughter the dishes." I didn't laugh. "Greg, that ticket's missing. And someone else is saying they bought it." His face shifted. The smile disappeared. "You're serious?" I signed the back. "I always do." He blinked fast, then nodded. "Hang on. I'll check the footage." I swear I could feel my heartbeat in my teeth. My knees nearly gave out. 10 minutes later, he waved me into the back. The monitor was small. The footage grainy. But there I was. Same old coat. That bag with the broken strap. My gray roots peeking out under my winter cap. Handing over the cash. Getting the ticket. Pulling out my pen. Writing something on the back. My name. I covered my mouth with both hands. Tears didn't fall. They just sat in my chest like fire. "Greg, would you mind if I recorded this?" He hesitated, just for a second. Then nodded. "Go ahead." I pulled out my phone. Pressed record. Said nothing. Because I didn't need words anymore. I had proof. That same afternoon, I picked up the phone. Dialed the state lottery office. No trembling hands. No second thoughts. Just steady fingers and a story I had the receipts to back. I told the woman on the line everything. Where I bought the ticket. When. That I had video proof. That my name was clearly signed on the back. There was a pause. A long one. Then she said, "We're going to need all of that. If your name's on the back and the timestamp checks out, the payout can be contested legally." I didn't sigh. Didn't cry. Didn't celebrate. "Can you freeze the payout?" I asked. Another pause. "Once the investigation is officially launched, yes." I thanked her. Hung up. And for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. In my tiny, outdated kitchen. The one Melissa used to make fun of. With the chipped tile, the crooked drawer, the old lace curtain I refused to replace. I finally felt peace. I didn't text her. Didn't call. Let her keep clinking glasses and posting selfies from rooftop lounges. Because while she was out spending stolen dreams on designer labels and poolside parties, I was giving the truth a voice. And here's the best part. She didn't see it coming. Not even close. She had no idea that silence, my silence, was about to speak louder than anything I'd ever said. And when the money stopped flowing, when the people stopped clapping, when the comments dried up and the inbox got quiet, she would finally look around and see that the woman she called a leech was the one who had signed the winning slip. She didn't use the money to fix anything real. Didn't pay off debts. Didn't help the boys. Didn't invest or plan or grow. She bought image. Followers. A fantasy. Overnight, her page turned into a showroom. New bags. Custom nails. Photo shoots by the pool. Self-made success story, she wrote under one post. Self-made. That one made me laugh. Then came the captions. Little stabs that looked harmless to the rest of the world. But I knew exactly who they were for. Cutting out toxic people is self-care. Finally free from leeches. Surround yourself with winners, not beggars. And the comments? Brutal. Laughter. Praise. Clapping hands. Fire emojis. Her friend Sophie. We always knew she was dragging you down. Someone else. Good riddance. Level up, babe. I scrolled until my thumb ached. Every comment landed like a slap. None of them knew me. Not the woman who skipped dinners so Melissa could eat seconds. Not the one who co-signed her lease when her credit was in ruins. Not the grandmother who stayed up with her feverish daughter at 2 a.m. while Melissa was out, clearing her head. They didn't know the woman who held it all together while her child tore it all apart. Because Melissa never told them. She didn't just push me out. She deleted me. With a few strokes of a keyboard, she painted me as the villain. And the world believed her. But I didn't fight back. Didn't post a rebuttal. Didn't leave a single comment. I screenshotted every post. Every caption. Every tag. Then I printed them. Because while she was out buying likes, I was sitting across from a lawyer named Dana. Dana didn't ask twice. Didn't look at me like I was lost or dramatic. She wore thin-rimmed glasses, spoke like a scalpel. Precise. She flipped through the folder like it was a court case. Which it was. Receipts. Photos. The video. When she finished, she looked up. Eyes steady. Voice cool. This isn't petty, she said. This is theft. And you have a rock-solid case. I nodded. I'm not looking for revenge. You're looking for justice. I'm looking for what's mine. That same day, we submitted everything. By the end of the week, the lottery office confirmed it. The investigation was open. The payout was frozen. The press release was delayed. And still, I said nothing to Melissa. Let her spin in her spotlight. Let her keep dancing on the edge of the cliff. I wasn't going to stop her. Because when someone's set on self-destruction, you don't scream. You let them run. And wait. She kept posting. Bragging. Getting louder. Real queens don't ask for permission. She wrote that under a video where she poured champagne into a shoe. While she was filming for her followers. I was signing a sworn affidavit with Dana. Confirming the date. The purchase. The location. Melissa was building a facade. I was building a case. While she was flaunting freedom, I was faxing over my bank statements. The ones that showed a balance that never included a sudden miracle. She kept shouting. I stayed quiet. And it worked. Because silence became my sharpest weapon. While I said nothing, she filled the void with noise. Noise that exposed her pride. Her recklessness. Her inability to see anyone beyond herself. She called people we hadn't spoken to in years. We should reconnect, she'd say. Offering expensive dinners like bait. People who forgot her birthday suddenly adored her. And me? I didn't feel angry anymore. Not even sad. Just clear. Crystal clear. She thought power meant control. That love was something you could buy. That a new purse and a fake caption could erase memory. But while she was pretending to win, I was building something real. Something she couldn't buy, block, or bury. The call came just after sunset. My tea was still hot. The house was still. Dana's voice came through calm and direct, like she'd been rehearsing. June, the lottery commission has accepted your claim. I sat up straighter. Heart silent. Breath caught somewhere in my chest. All accounts linked to the ticket are being frozen until further notice. The payout is officially paused. Indefinitely. I didn't say anything right away. I just held the phone to my ear and listened like it was music. Finally, I asked. Should I tell her? Dana let out a short laugh. No need. The banks will do it for you. And just like that, everything began to shift. 2 days later, Melissa's social media turned to dust. No rooftop photos. No champagne. No luxury car selfies. Not even a story. Just silence. I pictured her waking up and trying to pay for coffee, only to see, transaction declined, blink back at her like karma in LED. Trying again. Then again. Getting that pit in her stomach. Then panic. But I didn't smile. Didn't pour a celebratory drink. Because this wasn't revenge. This wasn't about getting even. This was about dignity. Mine. I'd spent a lifetime doing everything right. Loving her more than I loved myself. Pouring my time, my money, my energy into keeping her world spinning, even when mine was falling apart. And how did she repay me? With silence. With exile. With shame. But now, she was finally getting a taste of what she'd served me. Nothing. The commission had reviewed every second of the security footage. Every timestamp. Every motion. They saw it all. My coat. My purse. The pen I pulled from the inside pocket. The shaky signature on the back of that slip of paper. They didn't hesitate. We'll be issuing a correction, the official said. You'll be listed as the rightful claimant. We'll prepare a public announcement. The way she said it. Rightful claimant. Like it was a title. A badge of honor. Something I earned not with power, but with truth. And for the first time in so long, I felt seen. Not as a burden. Not as some washed-up woman waiting for the world to throw her a bone. Not even as a mother. But as me. As someone who never gave up on herself, even when everyone else did. I hung up and looked around the kitchen. The same cracked tile. The same faded curtains. The same chipped paint on the windowsill where she used to leave sticky handprints as a child. And it felt warmer than any mansion could. Because it was mine. I didn't text a soul. Didn't even tell the neighbor who once handed me a casserole and whispered. You deserve better than this. Because this wasn't about proving it to them. It was about proving it to me. That I hadn't imagined her turning cold. That I hadn't made up the way she stopped looking at me like I was family. That the shift, the betrayal, was real. And I wasn't crazy for feeling it. She thought I'd stay quiet forever. That I'd be too embarrassed to fight back. Too small. Too broken. Too old. But what she never understood is this. Quiet doesn't mean weak. And dignity doesn't beg for attention. That night, I looked out the kitchen window. The sky was dark. No stars. Just black. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself feel something I hadn't dared to touch. Peace. Not the loud kind. Not the "finally I won" kind. Just the kind that settles in your chest when you realize I made it through. I didn't just get the money back. I got me back. The version of me that knew when to say yes. And when to stop giving to someone who only knew how to take. The press conference was set for the following week. No big announcement. No media frenzy. Just enough to make it official. I didn't tell Melissa. Why should I? She never told me she was leaving. Never told me she moved out. Never told me she'd taken something that didn't belong to her. She never looked back. So I wouldn't warn her to look ahead. Let her find out the way I did. Alone. Stunned. Standing in the middle of a life that was never hers to begin with. Because the truth? It was coming. And this time. It had my name on it. The night before the press conference, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous. Not even because I was scared. It was memory. Memory that wouldn't let go. I laid there in my old bed, that tiny twin with the sunken mattress, while the ceiling fan whispered above me. Eyes wide. Heart wide open. And there they came. Those images I didn't invite. Melissa's first steps. Her first broken heart. The night she climbed into my bed at 15, mascara streaking her cheeks, whispering. Why does everyone leave me? I held her until the sun came up. Told her I never would. But I never thought she'd be the one to leave me behind. I thought love, real love, could outlast pain. That if I just kept showing up, kept sacrificing, kept holding space for all her storms. One day she'd stop and say, Mom, I see you. She never did. And for a long time, that broke me. Shattered me. But lying there in the stillness, I understood something I hadn't been ready to see. I did everything I could. And she made the choice. People love to say, blood is thicker than water. But they always leave out the rest. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Which means, the family you choose means more than the one you're born into. Melissa chose money over memories. Pride over presence. Ego over honesty. Image over me. And I was finally done blaming myself for the weight she threw away. I thought of all the nights I skipped sleep just to be there. The rent payments I made with money meant for medicine. The doctor appointments I canceled. The birthdays I missed. The dreams I shelved, because hers always screamed louder. But now? Now I didn't feel hollow. I felt clear. Like she had emptied me out. But life had filled me back up with something purer. Truth. Peace. Myself. That next morning, I stood in front of the mirror. Tied my hair back. Slipped on the blouse I only wore for holidays, simple, familiar, mine. Dana sat beside me in the car, briefcase in hand, steady as always. She didn't ask if I was ready. She knew I was. We pulled up to the building, not a grand hall. No red carpet. Just a quiet room with a podium, a banner, and the low hum of press waiting for something dramatic. They called my name. We're here to clarify the rightful ownership of a $10 million winning ticket purchased at Gas and Go on Route 18. The flashbulbs came. The microphones extended. And I stepped forward. I didn't clear my throat. Didn't stumble. Didn't flinch. My name is June Atwood. I bought that ticket. I signed it. And I am the rightful winner. That was it. 3 minutes total. But it felt like reclaiming a lifetime. The reporters tried to press for more. More emotion. More scandal. More drama. But I simply smiled. Stepped aside. Because I didn't need to prove anything anymore. The truth had already done the talking. Somewhere out there, I knew Melissa's carefully curated world was starting to crack. The foundation she built out of stolen money and spotlight was shifting. I didn't need to see it happen. I'd seen what it looked like when castles crumble. I didn't brag. Didn't tag the news. Didn't text anyone. I let it land where it needed to, without noise. But somehow, she still hadn't caught wind. Because the very next day, she posted from a rooftop bar. New pearls on her neck, cocktail in her hand, fake smile plastered across her face. Manifesting more millions, the caption read. I stared at my phone. Lips tight. Eyes unmoved. She had no idea. That the accounts were frozen. That the payout was gone. That the state had legally stripped her name from the prize. And I didn't owe her a warning. Let her sip her drink and soak in one last golden hour. Let her feel rich for one more post. I'd chosen the timing of that press conference on purpose. Just enough heads in the room to make it official. Not enough noise to tip her off. She hadn't checked. Hadn't guessed. Because deep down, she never thought I was capable. And that? That was her greatest blind spot. Melissa thought my silence meant surrender. That my quiet was weakness. She forgot who raised her. The mother who stayed up night after night ironing dresses and wiping down countertops while she cried herself to sleep. The woman who sat through every parent-teacher meeting, every emergency room visit, every counselor call, holding the family together with trembling fingers and sheer will. The one who stitched her prom dress by hand because we couldn't afford the one she wanted, but I still wanted her to feel beautiful. The one who held her through her worst panic attacks. Stayed up through the postpartum tears. I was her backbone. And she snapped it. But I wasn't broken. Now I stood alone. Not weaker. Not smaller. Just clearer. I didn't need the world to know what she did. The law did. That was enough. Dana sent the paperwork that afternoon. Official. Final. My name was on every page. Melissa's name? Nowhere. The state had reissued the winnings, all of them, under me. The former claimant, the one who smiled for the cameras, who threw parties with my money. She was now legally entitled to nothing. And I sat at my kitchen table. No crystal chandeliers. No marble countertops. No ocean view windows. Just a stack of signed papers. A chipped coffee mug. And air in my lungs. For the first time in years, I could breathe. She still hadn't called. Still hadn't figured it out. And honestly, a part of me hoped she wouldn't. Because the longer she floated in the fantasy, the harder it would hurt when reality hit. And it was coming. People like Melissa don't recognize the truth. Until it smacks them in the face. Until the lights flicker off. Until her banking apps freeze. Until the friends she threw 10 million at go ghost, without even a goodbye text. That moment? It was coming. And when it finally arrived, I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't explain. I wouldn't even raise my voice. I would just do what she never thought I could. Walk away. When the news finally reached her, the clock on my kitchen wall ticked past 12:18 p.m. And then, chaos. My phone lit up like wildfire. Buzzing. Rattling the old wooden table like a storm trapped in a jar. Call after call. Alert after alert. It vibrated like the world was trying to break through the silence I'd earned. I didn't move. Because I already knew. It wasn't the neighbor. It wasn't the media. It wasn't anyone looking for gossip. It was her. I sat there. Hands folded. Shoulders square. Heart steady. And I waited. At 1:43 p.m., I finally picked up. Her name flashed across the screen. A name that used to mean home. Now? It stung like hot metal in the back of my throat. I answered. No hello. No apology. No pause. Just a scream, ragged, trembling. You stole my life. Her voice cracked. Panic seeping into every word. It wasn't just fear. It was collapse. The sound of someone realizing their empire was built out of lies and borrowed time. I said nothing. Let her unravel. I could picture her, pacing the floor. Fake nails clawing into her palms. Mascara running down cheeks that used to carry fake smiles for Instagram. You think you're smart, she snapped. You think this is justice? You humiliated me in front of everyone. How am I supposed to face them now? And I let the silence stretch. Let her squirm. Let her feel it, the weight of truth finally landing. Then, I spoke. My voice? Calm. Firm. A razor edge sharpened by years of silence. You could start by saying thank you. Dead quiet. Then a breath. Shaky. Hollow. Thank you, she hissed. For what? I leaned back in my chair, the old one that creaked under history. For the 5 years I kept this house standing when you couldn't hold a job. For the 3 times I paid your debts while skipping my own prescriptions. For raising your children while you chased healing at the bottom of a bottle. For not calling the cops the night you stole the ticket, even when your hands were shaking, and your eyes told me you knew what you were doing. You're lying, she said. But her voice cracked. Thin ice under heavy steps. She knew. She'd always known. No, I said. Cool. Unapologetic. I have proof. I signed the back. The footage confirms it. I could have handled this quietly. But you chose to scream your version from the rooftops. So I made sure the truth got a microphone too. And that's when she broke. Not with remorse. Not with apologies. But with the kind of sobs that scrape the throat raw. The sound of ego crumbling. Of being seen without the costume. You ruined everything, she sobbed. And I shook my head, even if she couldn't see it. No, I said, as calm as snowfall. You built this ruin. I just stopped pretending it was a castle. Another pause. Another gasp. I could hear her trying to grab onto something, anything, to gain ground. You don't understand, she whimpered. I bought things, the house, the car, the wardrobe, it's all gone now, isn't it? You've taken it all. I didn't blink. Half of it's already donated, I said, every syllable deliberate. To women's shelters. To single mothers who don't abandon their families. To those who don't treat people like trash the moment money enters the room. She gasped, the kind of gasp you let out when the ground finally gives way. You're insane, she whispered. But even she didn't believe it. There was no fire left. No certainty. Just collapse. No, I replied, soft, but made of steel. I'm done being your crutch. Your fallback plan. Your silent partner in a fantasy you never earned. And then. I hung up. No warning. No fanfare. Just the click of the call ending, like the closing of a door I should have shut years ago. The quiet that followed? It didn't suffocate. It didn't ache. It lifted. Like the first breath after holding your head underwater too long. For the first time in decades, I didn't feel like someone's mother picking up shattered pieces. Didn't feel like someone's unpaid therapist or background character. I felt like me. Whole. Weightless. The real winner of a game I never asked to play. And as I set the phone down, I didn't feel guilt. Or regret. Just one quiet question blooming in my chest. What now? What comes after you burn the bridge you spent a lifetime building? I looked at the clock. The afternoon sun still crept through the curtain. The world, mine again, was waiting. Waiting to see what I'd do with my victory.